Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be talking about my particular culture and some things related to it and how they've impacted me. I am on my mother's side German predominantly. Um, and to back up for a minute, I never had really taken the time to consider my own personal culture, so it took me a minute to think through that. Um, but I believe that I can describe what I feel in words. So, German on my mother's side, and I can see that the strongest without question in me and how I go about things. I was around them a whole lot more. It was a bigger family, many gatherings together. And my dad's parents, his mother passed away before I was born, and I think I was 7 when his father passed away. So had minimal exposure to that side of the family. So a majority of my experience is with the German culture. And even my great uncle, he still, when he was living, still spoke with a German accent. So I was very fortunate, even though I was, quite a bit younger at that time, to get to experience a lot of the things that they did. I can even remember, going down there and sitting in the shade of these big trees. Everybody's drinking beer and playing dominoes and cooking sausage. Now, when I say cooking sausage, they would actually get the hog, butcher it, and process the meat and boil it in one of these huge iron pots until they got it like they wanted it, and then they used the actual intestines from the hog and made sausage out of it, and then hung it in the smokehouse. So very interesting that they still did it the old way. So some of the things that I became or learned due to those experiences is what I observed in them, and that is finding joy and satisfaction in the little things in your life and around you. Me personally, I don't need expensive cars, expensive homes, big expensive vacations. That really doesn't do anything for me. I'm easily entertained. I enjoy very, very simple things, and I appreciate the simple things in life. I can remember sitting on the front porch swing, for hours, just watching the neighborhood and visiting with family and working in the garden, and a lot of those things I still do even at my own home. Family and friends, that's also very important, but they always said choose wisely. You can't help your family, but choose wisely on your friends. Routine. There was a routine for everything. I am very much like that. I enjoy my routine. I find comfort in it. I'm not a free spirit. In fact, I tell people that I really appreciate 2 weeks' notice when asked to be spontaneous. Sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not much of one. Now, my dad, he's a free spirit. For example, if I'm going somewhere, I'm going to go directly to my destination. I'm not going to speed or anything, but I'm not going to take different roads. Now my dad, and I have experienced this, it's nothing for him to drive 20 or 30 miles out of the way to go see the world's largest ball of twine or something like that. I can appreciate that in him as long as I'm not riding with him, because I feel like a hostage. But anyway, I can appreciate that he's that way. Finances. This is another German thing that I feel very strongly about. I'm not cheap. I'm just not wasteful. I love to repurpose things. And even like my German relatives, anything that could be possibly used for another use further down the line was saved. But it was not thrown in the yard. or in big piles. It was very organized, and you wouldn't know that these items were there unless you knew where to look. Um, and saving money for a rainy day. For them, it was something catastrophic that maybe they were unable to repair themselves or build themselves. It was, for them, it was comfort to have that money sitting back. For me, it's the same, except for me, it's my daughters. As they'll be seniors next year and then college, and I'm easily entertained. It doesn't take a lot to make me happy, so I don't have any problem maybe being a little tight with the purse strings in order to make sure that they have every opportunity that they need to move forward in life. And those opportunities, such as college, cost money, and so I just want to make sure that they have those things. Now once they're off on their own, I might do a few things more for myself, but right now I'm not even worried about it, so I guess that's a good thing. Religion, that's another one. Very important part, but it was also considered to be that's a very personal subject, and that relationship is between you and God. That was something, never tried to sell anybody on Christianity, those kind of things. And also too, just worry about your business. That was another thing that I learned is, we all, have enough things that we need to take care of. We certainly don't have time to be minding other people's business. It doesn't help them and it doesn't help you. Now that's different than if somebody asks you for help, and then I was taught to always be ready and prepared to help somebody if they need it. And I stand by that today, because you yourself, may need help sometime. Personal matters. That was another thing. They were friendly to everyone. You could not meet nicer people. But when it came to their own personal matters, anything to do with the family, their finances, that was kept very private. And that's, wasn't something to be discussed with people that, weren't in the circle in regards to close family. They just didn't see any need in that. And let me jump back to the repurposing. There's nothing quite as satisfying as doing something for yourself. Say a repair project on your home or something that you needed to build, and the option is, yes, you can pay someone to do it for you, or if you don't know how, you can research it, and there are a lot of ways to research it these days, and get the materials and do it yourself. I have discovered that there's really nothing more satisfying than that, knowing that you did it, especially if it was something that maybe you weren't entirely sure how to do to begin with. And so, that's the thing with the German culture, especially in, say, Mason and Fredericksburg area. If any of you guys are familiar with that area, Mason is where all of my relatives were. And, the German houses, they weren't big and they weren't extravagant, but they were very nicely maintained. Didn't necessarily have a lot, but certainly took care of it. And so that's something I can also appreciate. My house is not fancy by any means. It's very comfortable, beautiful trees, but it's not a fancy neighborhood. I mean, it's not what I would consider a fancy house, but it suits my purpose. I enjoy being there, and so I take care of it the best that I can. And these are things that I have, that I learned from my relatives, my German relatives, and I am trying to pass on to my daughters. There are a few very small things that I can see that they pick up on quite naturally in that area, but the rest of it seems to be a bit lost on them, and I don't know if it's the way the world is today in regards to the amount of information that we're exposed to, or, well, I'm just not sure. But I will continue to do that, and maybe as they get a little bit older, they'll see, why Dad did the things that he did, and understand, as opposed to what do they call me, Hitler? Eh, you know, they'll understand when they get to college and they need some help. So, but anyway, like I said, I never had really considered cultural identity, heritage, other than the fact that, obviously there's a large amount of German ancestry in me. And, even as a small child, I can remember seeing them do things and thinking that might be a little different than I have observed other people doing those same tasks. But I appreciated it because I learned how to do a lot of things for myself. I learned the value in that. And, it's just a whole lot easier to relax when you know that you have things taken care of. For me personally, if I have a lot of projects that aren't completed or things that I need to do, it's very hard for me to really relax because that's just going through my mind. And these projects for school are really no different. So, but anyway, they were great people. Their values were strong. Family ties were strong. All the food home cooked, from the vegetables in the garden to, like I said, the sausage. They would cure their own hams. They would butcher their own cows and process those. And and the other part of it is they never had to worry about who's handled the meat, if the temperature was correct when it was handled, and those kind of things. You didn't have to worry about if the meat was clean, if it had been handled properly. And so, I really appreciate my opportunity to be exposed to that, to be able to have those memories. All but maybe two of that, what I would consider a fairly large group of relatives in the Mason area, have all passed away. They were obviously quite a bit older than me. I was just, even up into my teenage years, I believe. But they were great people. I learned a lot of jokes that I can't repeat on here, and a lot of sayings that I can't repeat on here, but maybe if you were to word them more appropriately, they would have the same meaning, but I can't be sure on that. I also learned a little bit of German from the times that I would spend down there. But anyway, I'm just really grateful for that. I think that really describes my cultural identity and why I do a lot of the things that I do, and the reason why I do them the way that I do. I'm no different than anybody else in regards to obligations and things that need to be taken care of. I just sometimes maybe do it in a little bit different way, kind of goal oriented, and I want to get it done. And if I can get it done and do it myself, then that's even better. So anyway, I appreciate everyone listening to me ramble. And that was Teach Me About You, assignment number 2, and my cultural identity and how and who influenced it. So thank you for listening. Bye-bye.